At 1400 hours on November 15, 1944, Lieutenant Colonel Boris Pache sat in a commandeered office in Strasbourg, France, examining documents captured from the University of Strasbourg Physics Department. The documents were correspondence between German physicists discussing nuclear research. Pache was not a physicist. He was counterintelligence officer, but he understood enough to recognize what he was reading. The letters discussed uranium enrichment, reactor designs, and calculations about chain reactions. The names on the correspondence included Werner Heisenberg, Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, and other leading German physicists. This was evidence that Germany had atomic weapons program. The question was whether the program was advanced or primitive. Were the Germans months from building a bomb, or were they years behind? American intelligence had been tracking German nuclear research since 1939. The tracking intensified after Manhattan Project began in 1942. If Germany built atomic bomb before America did, the war would be lost. If America built bomb first, the war would be won decisively. The race was existential. Operation Alsos was created to determine which side was winning. Alsos' Greek word meaning grove, chosen as reference to General Leslie Groves, who commanded Manhattan Project, was established in December 1943. The mission was following Allied armies into occupied territory, locating German nuclear facilities and scientists, capturing documents and materials, and assessing German atomic capabilities. The operation was a joint effort between Army Intelligence, Office of Strategic Services, and Manhattan Project scientific personnel. The team leader was Boris Pache, 44 years old in 1944, born in Russia, raised in California, career Army counterintelligence officer. Pache had investigated communist sympathies among Manhattan Project scientists, including Robert Oppenheimer. General Groves trusted Pache to handle sensitive operations requiring both military competence and understanding of security issues around atomic research. Pache was aggressive, direct, and willing to operate in combat zones to accomplish mission. The scientific director was Samuel Goudsmit, Dutch-American physicist, age 42, professor at University of Michigan. Goudsmit had studied under prominent European physicists in 1920s. He knew most senior German physicists personally from academic conferences and collaborations. Goudsmit could evaluate German research, interrogate German scientists, and assess whether German atomic program was a serious threat. His scientific credentials gave him credibility when dealing with captured German physicists who might otherwise refuse cooperation. The initial Alsos team in 1943-1944 included approximately 20 personnel scientists, intelligence officers, translators, and military support. The team followed Allied advances through Italy in 1944, investigating German research facilities in Rome and other captured cities. Results were inconclusive. German research in Italy was limited. The important German atomic facilities were in Germany itself and German-occupied territories. The breakthrough came in November 1944 after Allied forces captured Strasbourg. The University of Strasbourg had been German university since 1940 when Germany annexed Alsace. The physics department included several German physicists involved in atomic research. When Allied forces entered Strasbourg on November 23, German scientists evacuated hastily, leaving documents behind. Pache's team seized the documents within hours of Strasbourg's capture. The documents were treasure trove, correspondence between physicists, research reports, administrative records showing funding and personnel, equipment orders. The documents revealed structure of German atomic program, which scientists were involved, where they worked, what facilities existed, what research was being conducted. Most importantly, the documents provided clues to German progress. Goudsmit analyzed the documents for weeks. His assessment was cautiously optimistic. The documents showed German atomic research was ongoing but did not appear advanced. The research discussed reactor designs but not weapons designs. The correspondence debated theoretical problems that Manhattan Project had solved years earlier. The funding levels were modest millions of Reichsmarks rather than billions. The personnel numbers were small dozens of scientists rather than thousands. The evidence suggested German program was smaller and less advanced than feared. But evidence was incomplete. The documents from Strasbourg covered only portion of German research. Major German facilities were in Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, facilities at Leipzig and Munich, and rumored facilities elsewhere. Until these facilities were captured and examined, German atomic capabilities remained uncertain. Also's mission became urgent as Allied armies approached Germany in early 1945. The target list was developed from multiple intelligence sources. German physicist Werner Heisenberg was priority target. He was Germany's leading nuclear physicist and likely leader of German atomic program. Otto Hahn was second priority. He had discovered nuclear fission in 1938 and continued research during war. Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, Walter Gerlach, Kurt Diebner, and Paul Hartek were additional targets, all senior physicists involved in German atomic research. The facilities were harder to locate. Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin was known but was in Soviet occupation zone by time Berlin fell. Facilities at Leipzig, Munich, and Heidelberg were in American zones and could be captured. Rumors suggested German atomic reactor existed somewhere in southern Germany, but location was unknown. Finding the reactor was highest priority. Examining actual hardware would reveal German technical capabilities definitively. As Allied armies crossed Rhine in March 1945, Also's teams followed immediately behind combat units. The operation was dangerous. Teams operated in recently captured territory where fighting continued. Pasch led teams personally, often under fire, to reach facilities before Germans could destroy evidence. The urgency was extreme. If Germans had atomic bomb, they might use it as Germany collapsed. If Germans had research that could advance Soviet atomic program, Soviets might capture it. Speed was essential. Heidelberg was captured April 1, 1945. Also's team entered the University of Heidelberg Physics Department on April 2. Walter Both, prominent physicist involved in German reactor research, was captured at his home. Interrogation revealed that German reactor research had been moved to Haigerloch, small town 50 miles south of Stuttgart. The reactor was supposedly installed in underground facility carved into cliff. Haigerloch was captured April 23 by French forces. Pasch's team arrived same day. The reactor location was identified as cave carved into cliff face overlooking the town. Local informants confirmed Germans had installed scientific equipment in the cave in recent months. Pasch, Gaudsmit, and several team members descended into the cave at approximately 1600 hours on April 23. What they found was anticlimactic. The reactor was small cylindrical structure approximately 8 feet tall, 6 feet diameter, suspended in tank of heavy water. The heavy water moderator was intended to slow neutrons and sustain chain reaction. The reactor core contained approximately 1.5 tons of uranium metal arranged in cubes suspended in heavy water. The entire assembly was surrounded by carbon blocks for additional moderation and shielding. Gaudsmit examined the reactor carefully. His assessment was devastating for German atomic program, but reassuring for Allied fears. The reactor was barely functional. It could sustain neutron multiplication, but not full chain reaction. The uranium quantity was insufficient. The heavy water quantity was inadequate. The design was crude. The supporting equipment was improvised. The entire installation looked like university physics experiment, not weapons program. The reactor had never achieved criticality, the condition where chain reaction becomes self-sustaining. German scientists had attempted to activate reactor in March 1945, but failed. The reactor produced neutrons, but not enough to sustain reaction. German scientists planned modifications, but Allied advance reached Haigerloch before modifications could be implemented. The reactor was abandoned in place when Germans evacuated. The facility included offices and laboratories where German scientists had worked. ALSO's team seized documents, equipment, and materials. The documents confirmed what reactor inspection suggested German atomic program was far behind Manhattan Project. German scientists understood nuclear physics theoretically, but lacked industrial capacity to build atomic weapons. The program never progressed beyond experimental research stage. The uranium cubes from the reactor were seized as evidence and to prevent Soviet acquisition. The heavy water was drained and removed. The reactor structure was partially dismantled. The cave facility was documented photographically. Goudsmit wrote detailed technical report describing reactor design and capabilities. The report was transmitted to Manhattan Project leadership and to General Eisenhower's headquarters. Werner Heisenberg was captured May 3, 1945 in Bavaria. Heisenberg had been traveling with German atomic research team that evacuated to southern Germany as Allied armies advanced. He was detained by American forces and interrogated by Goudsmit. The interrogation was personal. For Goudsmit, he had known Heisenberg before the war. Goudsmit's parents had died in Auschwitz. Goudsmit confronted Heisenberg about German atomic program and German atrocities. Heisenberg defended his research as pure science separate from Nazi politics. The interrogation revealed German atomic program's history and limitations. Heisenberg confirmed that German scientists understood how to build atomic bomb theoretically, but industrial requirements were beyond German capability, especially after 1943 when Allied bombing disrupted German industry. German program focused on reactor research rather than weapons development because weapons seemed impractical given resource constraints. The decision was partly technical assessment and partly rationalization. German scientists chose to believe atomic weapons were impractical because building them was beyond German industrial capacity. Additional German physicists were captured through April and May 1945. Otto Hahn, Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, Walter Gerlach, Kurt Diebner, Paul Hartek, and Erich Baga were detained. The scientists were eventually transported to England, where they were held at Farmhall Country House, used by British intelligence for detention and covert monitoring. The scientists were housed comfortably, but their conversations were recorded secretly. The recordings provided insight into German scientists' understanding of atomic weapons and their reactions to news of Hiroshima bombing. The Farmhall transcripts recorded August 6, 1945, conversations after scientists learned about Hiroshima. The scientists were initially skeptical. They believed Allied announcement was propaganda because they calculated atomic bomb required uranium quantities Germany could never have enriched. When they realized the bomb was real, they were shocked. Some expressed relief that Germany had not built bomb. Others rationalized that German scientists had chosen not to build bomb for moral reasons. The transcripts revealed that German scientists had never seriously attempted weapons development. They pursued reactor research because weapons seemed technically impossible. The ALSO's assessment concluded that German atomic program never threatened to produce weapons. The program was limited by several factors. First, industrial capacity enriching uranium or producing plutonium required massive industrial facilities that Germany never built. Manhattan Project required $2 billion in facilities consuming 1% of American electrical production. Germany lacked equivalent resources, especially after 1943 when Allied bombing intensified. Second, organizational structure. German atomic research was fragmented among competing groups at different institutions. Wehrmacht, SS, Reich Research Council, and various universities conducted separate programs with minimal coordination. Manhattan Project was unified under single command with centralized decision-making. German fragmentation meant resources were dispersed inefficiently. Third, priority level. German leadership never prioritized atomic weapons development highly enough to allocate necessary resources. German military focused on conventional weapons that could be produced quickly. Atomic weapons seemed speculative technology requiring years of development. Germany needed weapons immediately, not theoretical weapons years in future. Fourth, technical decisions. German scientists pursued reactor designs using heavy water moderator. Heavy water was scarce. Germany's only source was Norsk Hydro plant in Norway, producing approximately 10 tons annually. ALSO's captured documents showed Germans needed approximately 5 tons heavy water for reactor experiments. This limited number of reactors that could be built. Manhattan Project used graphite moderator abundant carbon, requiring no rare materials. The technical choice limited German program scalability. The Higgerloch reactor represented culmination of German atomic program. After 6 years of research and millions of Reichsmarks expenditure, German program produced reactor that could not achieve criticality and had no path to weapons development. By comparison, Manhattan Project by April 1945 had completed Hanford plutonium production reactors, operated Oak Ridge uranium enrichment plants, and was weeks from Trinity test. The gap was enormous. Post-war analysis examined why German program failed. Multiple explanations emerged. Some argued German scientists secretly sabotaged program because they opposed building atomic weapons for Nazis. This explanation was popular among German scientists post-war, but contradicted by evidence. Scientists had pursued research seriously, even if unsuccessfully. The reactor at Higgerloch showed genuine effort to achieve criticality, not sabotage. More credible explanation was resource constraints and organizational dysfunction. Germany lacked industrial capacity to build atomic weapons while fighting total war. Resources consumed by Manhattan Project were beyond Germany's capability, especially after 1943. German organizational structure dispersed effort inefficiently. German leadership never prioritized atomic research highly enough to overcome these constraints. Technical factors also mattered. German heavy water approach was inferior to graphite moderator approach. German scientists calculated that graphite could not work due to impurities. Calculation was wrong, but they believed it. The error directed German program toward heavy water, which was scarce and limited scalability. Manhattan Project pursued both heavy water and graphite, but succeeded with graphite when heavy water proved difficult to obtain in quantity. The psychological factor was that German scientists convinced themselves atomic weapons were impractical. Once they concluded weapons could not be built with available resources, they rationalized that reactor research was more valuable scientifically. The rationalization became self-fulfilling because they believed weapons were impractical. They did not pursue weapons development aggressively, which meant weapons remained impractical. ALSO's operation achieved primary objective determining German atomic capabilities definitively. The operation prevented Soviets from capturing German scientists and materials before Americans reached them. 10 senior German physicists were detained and removed from Soviet reach. Approximately 1.5 tons of uranium metal was seized and shipped to America. Documents totaling thousands of pages were captured and analyzed. The intelligence gathered eliminated uncertainty about German atomic threat. The operation influenced American nuclear policy post-war. Knowing Germany had not built atomic bomb validated Manhattan Project's urgency, but also revealed that Allied fears had been exaggerated. Germany was never close to building bomb. The threat was theoretical rather than imminent. This affected decisions about Soviet atomic program. American intelligence did not assume Soviet program would progress as rapidly as feared German program might have. The operation demonstrated value of scientific intelligence. Traditional military intelligence could locate facilities and capture personnel, but could not evaluate technical capabilities. ALSO's combined military intelligence with scientific expertise effectively. Goudsmit and other scientists on team could examine reactor and immediately assess its capabilities. This model influenced later intelligence operations, requiring technical assessment, CIA's analysis of Soviet nuclear facilities, evaluation of foreign weapons programs, assessment of emerging technologies. The personnel involved in ALSOS included approximately 200 individuals over operations duration from late 1943 through mid-1945. The teams operated in Italy, France, Belgium, and Germany. Several team members were injured by combat operations or accidents. One team member was killed by German fire near Heidelberg. The risks were substantial. Operating in combat zones while conducting intelligence operations required personnel who could handle both military and scientific demands. The captured German scientists were held at Farm Hall from July through December 1945. British intelligence recorded their conversations continuously. The recordings provided unprecedented insight into scientists' thinking about atomic weapons, their knowledge of German programs' limitations, and their rationalizations post-war. The transcripts were classified until 1992, when they were released publicly. The transcripts revealed divisions among German scientists. Some, like Otto Hahn, expressed relief. Germany had not built bomb in horror about Hiroshima casualties. Others, like Heisenberg, rationalized that German scientists had been morally superior by not building bomb, conveniently ignoring that they had tried, but failed rather than chosen not to try. The self-justifications illustrated how scientists reframed failure as moral choice. Heisenberg's post-war writings claimed German scientists deliberately avoided building atomic bomb because they opposed giving such weapon to Nazis. The claim was challenged by historians examining wartime evidence. Documents showed German scientists pursued atomic research seriously, corresponded about reactor designs and uranium enrichment, and attempted to achieve criticality at Heigerloch. The failure was technical and organizational, not moral choice. Heisenberg's claim was self-serving rationalization constructed post-war. The Heigerloch reactor was dismantled completely by Also's team. Uranium cubes were shipped to America. Heavy water was removed and analyzed. Equipment was seized or destroyed. The cave was left empty. Post-war, the site became minor tourist attraction. Today, the cave houses museum about German atomic program and Alsos operation. Replica of reactors displayed showing how installation appeared when discovered. The museum presents German atomic program as scientific curiosity rather than serious weapons threat. The strategic lesson from Alsos was that direct investigation beats speculation. Allied intelligence spent years fearing German atomic bomb based on fragmentary evidence and theoretical possibility. The fear drove Manhattan Project and shaped Allied strategy. Direct examination of German facilities revealed the threat was minimal. Germany never came close to building bomb. The fear was reasonable, given what was known in 1942-1943, but was proven wrong by evidence gathered in 1945. The operational lesson was that specialized intelligence teams could operate effectively in combat environments. Also's teams reached facilities within hours or days of capture, often while fighting continued. The speed prevented destruction of evidence and prevented Soviet acquisition of materials. The teams combined military security with scientific expertise successfully. The model proved that intelligence operations requiring specialized knowledge could be integrated with combat operations. The human cost of German atomic program was modest compared to other aspects of Nazi war effort. Forced laborers worked at Norsk Hydro heavy water plant in Norway. Workers died in Allied bombing of plant. German scientists consumed resources that could have been used for other purposes. But compared to other Nazi programs, conventional weapons production, concentration camps, occupation administrations, the atomic program was minor. The program's failure meant limited resources were wasted pursuing impractical goal. The comparative assessment between Manhattan Project and German program illustrated importance of industrial capacity and organizational effectiveness. Manhattan Project succeeded because America had resources to build massive industrial facilities, organizational structure to coordinate complex effort, and leadership commitment to prioritize program. German program failed because Germany lacked industrial capacity, organization was fragmented, and leadership never prioritized program sufficiently. Technical knowledge was similar, both sides understood nuclear physics. Execution was vastly different. The post-war fate of German scientists varied. Most were released from Farm Hall in early 1946. They returned to Germany and resumed academic careers. Heisenberg became director of Max Planck Institute and continued research in theoretical physics. Otto Hahn received Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1944 for discovering nuclear fission, awarded post-war due to war disruption. Other scientists returned to universities and rebuilt German physics research community. Several German scientists were recruited by Soviet Union to assist Soviet atomic program. The scientists provided knowledge about reactor designs and uranium enrichment, but German contribution to Soviet program was limited. Soviets had own research capabilities and received more valuable intelligence from espionage penetration of Manhattan Project through Klaus Fuchs and other spies. German scientists helped, but were not essential to Soviet atomic success. The uranium seized by Alsos was incorporated into American atomic stockpile. The 1.5 tons from Haigerloch combined with uranium captured elsewhere in Germany totaled approximately 10 tons. The material was refined and used in American weapons production. The captured uranium eliminated need to mine equivalent quantity from domestic sources, minor contribution, but symbolically significant that German uranium was converted into American weapons. The Alsos story remained largely classified until 1960s. Goudsmit published account of operation in 1947 titled Alsos, but many details remained classified. Full documentation was declassified gradually through 1970s and 1980s. Farm Hall transcripts were released in 1992. The declassification allowed historians to assess operation and German atomic program accurately. The assessment confirmed Alsos' findings. German program was never close to success. The legacy of Alsos extended to Cold War intelligence operations. CIA and other agencies adopted Alsos model for scientific intelligence, combining military operations with scientific expertise to assess foreign technical capabilities. The model was used evaluating Soviet nuclear facilities, Chinese missile programs, and other technical intelligence targets. The principle that scientific assessment requires scientific expertise became standard doctrine. The final assessment was that Operation Alsos succeeded completely. The operation determined German atomic capabilities definitively, prevented Soviet acquisition of German scientists and materials, and eliminated uncertainty that had driven Allied fears for 3 years. The operation cost minimal resources, approximately $2 million compared to Manhattan Project's $2 billion. The return on investment was enormous: definitive intelligence eliminating strategic uncertainty. This was Operation Alsos, the intelligence operation that followed Allied armies into Germany, hunting atomic scientists and nuclear facilities. The mission that combined soldiers, spies, and physicists pursuing single objective, determining whether Hitler had the bomb. The discovery of Werner Heisenberg hiding in Bavaria and Otto Hahn working at captured institute. The interrogations conducted by scientists who had known German colleagues before war and now questioned them about their research for Nazi regime. The descent into Haigerloch Cave, where German atomic reactors sat incomplete and inadequate experimental pile that represented culmination of 6 years of effort and millions of Reichsmarks expenditure. The assessment that eliminated Allied fears by proving Germany never came close to building atomic bomb. The operation that demonstrated intelligence value of direct investigation over speculation. The hunt for Nazi nuke that discovered the Nazi nuke never existed and proved Allied fears wrong through direct examination of pathetic German reactor that could not achieve criticality. The mission that showed Germany lost atomic race before race truly began because Germany lacked industrial capacity and organizational effectiveness to build weapons that German scientists understood theoretically but could never construct practically.